Council on February 17th, 2026 at 910 South Mountain Road. And welcome to everyone in attendance. We have a few people here tonight. Glad to have you. And we will begin our meeting with Pledge of Allegiance led by Blake, by Councilmember Winslow, and then a prayer or thought given by Eileen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Live in this country and have the opportunity to have representative government, local government, and the opportunity to serve. We are grateful for the moisture that we are receiving and ask the government that we might be able to get sufficient for our needs here. We ask you to work through the business of our state government tonight, that we might do so carefully and thoughtfully. Again, pray for each and every member of our community, every member of our community. And we value and want everyone to be able to go on. We give thanks for all of it.
Amen. Thank you. Haley, roll call.
Oh, Darren,
Councilmember Gary Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Mark Cottrell. Here. Councilmember David L. Here. Councilmember Ivy Moss.
Here.
Councilmember Blake Winslow.
Here.
Mayor G.
Here. Thank you. Number 2, declaration of conflicts of interest. Having looked at the agenda, is there any council member who needs to declare a conflict of interest with any item tonight? Okay, hearing none. We'll go to number 3, reports. Council member reports. We will start at this end this time. Mark, you want to go ahead?
First of all, I want to begin by apologizing for my conduct at the last council meeting. My comments and tone did not reflect the standard I expect of myself as a council member. I care deeply about this city and the people we serve. Leadership requires steadiness, especially when discussions are difficult. And at that meeting, I fell short of that expectation. I remain fully committed to serving this community with respect, professionalism, and focus, even when the issues before us are challenging. And again, I apologize. I also attended my first mosquito abatement meeting this past week. Gary Hatch, who has been the district manager, is retiring. A new district manager was appointed. His name is Greg White. He has tremendous amount of experience and currently is the assistant district manager at the Salt Lake County Mosquito Abatement. The tree hole spraying has started last week, and there's close to 1,000 trees in Davis County that they will be spraying. The trees that can get affected the most are box elder, maple, and sycamore trees. The mosquitoes they come out of the tree holes that are in the trees, and this mosquito is known for spreading dog heart worms. And in the summer, when this mosquito gets trapped in any of the traps, they will check out the trees and spray within a half-mile area of which that tree mosquito was trapped. And so I thought that was kind of impressive that they would be proactive if they trap that particular mosquito. During the month of March, the 2026 educational program will start with 50 to 54 elementary schools participating this year. And the grades of students that will receive the education are 3rd grade to 6th grades. And members of the city council or residents can join in any of these training programs at an elementary school. And that's all that I have.
Great. great report. Thank you. David, anything tonight?
The one thing we have scheduled with the county, it's Amber Herrick, she's kind of responsible for. Oh, my microphone's not turned on. She's over the county emergency preparedness, and she's organizing a countywide fair coming up in September. And there's going to be a kickoff meeting starting tomorrow, and they have representatives from each of the cities in the county talking about the agenda and what our plans for it. So I'll be participating in that, and that Darren had also going to represent the city for that as well. So
Thank you. Great.
That's
Happy
all.
to hear what they're planning there. Gary?
I don't have anything tonight, thanks.
Okay. Elaine?
Met with the cemetery committee. Again, we felt like we're making some good progress as far as maybe pinning some things down. We have a couple of different resources. We have an additional person with some expertise that has offered to share with us as well. And one of the things that I think the committee found interesting is that people are setting up private cemeteries because they feel like they can make money with them. And so that's what we're kind of interested in, how you can do this without it being, it needs to be revenue neutral. So we're interested in that. I also spoke with Curtis Tanner regarding the plans that he drew for additional park improvements here at Harvey Park. Concerning, we mentioned on the pickleball courts, and he said it's absolutely easy to add more pickleball courts into what he drew, and as well as parking, and he would be willing to give that another look, and then we'll maybe bring that back to the council and get some thoughts on where we need to go with that before we continue on.
Okay. I think we'll also look at the Nichols Park plans.
Yes,
Put them
both.
together and we get started talking about those. I'd love to get that discussion going. Thank you. Blake?
Yeah, do you want to share LPC or would you like me to? Either or.
Either of us. We can do
So the Utah League of Cities and Towns, Mayor Groberg and I and Darren are all voting members for the Legislative Policy Committee there. We're a little past halfway through the legislative session, and we're on track to have the most bills ever numbered. Right, as of this morning, there were 955 numbered bills that I counted myself. You have to go in and look because there's no way to see for sure. A number of the bills that have not made their way out of committee yet are going to impact communities if they're passed in their current form. The one that has drawn the most concern from local governments is House Bill 184, Small Lots and Starter Homes Amendments, which is put forward by Representative Ward, and it preempts local community control for a number of different small home types. So we'll be watching that closely and reaching out to our representatives to let them know that we would like to make sure that local control is conserved there. And then Youth City Council, we went and took a tour at the sheriff's office last week, and it was lovely. We had about 9 of our kids come, and we had a very thorough tour. I was expecting that it would be a short tour, but we went through every single cell block except for one. And if those kids don't understand that they don't want to go back there, I don't know what else we do. But it was really informative, and I was just really impressed with the Sheriff's Department, with the services they provide, and with their willingness to educate the community. So, and that's all I have.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, I don't have more report than that, just piggybacking on the LPC report. I did reach out to legislators today about HB 184. So just so aware, we do what we can to push back on these bills, and hopefully that does not get out of committee, but we don't know. We won't know till later this week what's happening with that. But it is an encroachment on, serious encroachment on local authority for zoning. We can, let's see, staff reports. We've got an awesome staff report from Darren tonight. You want to go first? Or is anybody else that wants to do a report?
You want me to start?
I would love it.
So, actually, I was going to report on, I was able to go back to Washington DC last week and have the hearing with the subcommittee about the land conveyance on the East Bench from about 650 North all the way to Farmington's Bike Park. It went very well. Started off, I actually lucked out. I got to take a tour of the Capitol and the Library of Congress with one of the staff members, and then was able to go into the hearing. There were 6 bills that were in that hearing with that committee, and so we went through that process. We actually felt much better by the end of the hearing. After it was done, the Forest Service did make some commitments during the hearing that they would work with the county through Heights, Farmington, Blake Moore's office, and come to an agreement to make sure the Bonneville Shoreline Trail is continued through all of Davis County without a bunch of roadblocks and those kind of things. Then also able to work with providing more trails coming off the Shoreline Trail with a lot easier success is what they said would happen. So that was a big plus in that they actually committed to it in the hearing, where they usually won't do any kind of commitments on anything like that. A little more along with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. I was able to meet with Jeff and the Forest Service before I left to go, and the mayor, and they do have the trail design completed. They finished that just within the last couple of weeks to get for the Bear Canyon area where they were struggling, how they were going to get it through there. They do have that completed and approved. So there are some good things happening from that. But I do want to thank the city council for allowing me to go back there and represent through Heights City through the hearing process.
So, can I ask?
Yeah.
The Bear Canyon Trail design, is that something that we are expected to participate in?
No, so the county, that's the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. The county is in charge of that and supplying the funds and the building of that trail.
So that would come out of county
Yeah,
funds?
he's not
So that'd
speaking
be
about the
county.
Bear Canyon Trail. We're talking about
So-
BST.
Right,
Yeah,
I understood
yeah,
that.
the
The
Bonneville Shoreline
county's,
Trail.
the county's baby, for lack of another word, to oversee that connection. And Jeff Euler has been working very hard on that from the county for several years. And that is close to fruition. So just to be clear, we don't get confused, when he says that they committed to it being that BST work going forward, not necessarily to the conveyance itself. That's That's just at the very beginning.
There's still
of the
discussions about the
congressional
conveyance and
process,
stuff that
so-
still have to move forward.
Yeah, that's not
But
at all finished, but.
Yep. But we did get that commitment from the Forest
Commitment
Service
to
that
go forward with the
they would
BST
continue
funds.
with the work and not just go into, we're not doing anything mode. So, which is really good.
Yeah,
So.
we do want that, and that'll be nice when that connection becomes nicely done and official. Thank you. Okay, other staff reports. Jeff, do you have anything tonight?
No.
Okay, Lane?
Public Works has been replacing some sidewalk throughout the city, doing some equipment maintenance, replacing some street signs. So that's it.
Awesome. Commissioner, whereabouts or just very different areas?
Streets, yeah, just all over the city, everywhere that's been requested. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you for your work. We appreciate you. Number 4, our public comment period. We'll move into public comment period. Members of the public may address the council on any topic, whether on or not on the agenda. The council cannot take action on anything that is not on our agenda, but you may have, anyone wishing to make a comment may have 3 minutes to address the council.
I am Scott Huser. I live on Heights Way, just right behind here. On October 28th, I was on a 3-way call with Darren and Brad and our city attorney about the general plan and the illegal vote. Brad agreed that it had not received the required votes to pass it, but it had gone past 30 days and the city council had signed the minutes, making it valid from Brad's point of view. Then on November 18th, at the city meeting, I spoke about the plan being invalid. After the meeting, I was approached by Jeannie about me speaking against the general plan vote. She proceeded to tell me that Brad said the city was fine with how the general plan stood. So, who is in charge? At one point in the conversation, she asked if I had read the general plan and if I had a MIH strategy in place. I told her that I did not know as a resident that I needed one. Well, challenge accepted. I read the general plan over the next 4 days and have some ideas about how to meet the MIH requirements and fix the general plan. Unfortunately, I never got the opportunity to share my thoughts on the general plan and MIH strategies because of the rush job to ratify the vote. My question is, why did the city council rush to ratifying the plan since I had exposed the issue on October 28th? We waited 3 months to ratify this, but then rushed the vote, and we couldn't wait to allow residents to bring ideas and concerns. The city attorney on January 6th in our city council meeting said that we could have public comments and a Reader's Digest version of the general plan. We never did this. We missed his recommendation. Then you said, the city attorney said we needed to have a plan in place soon to protect us, so we quickly ratified the vote. It seems that you're choosing when to listen to his advice. Jeannie, you talked throughout your campaign as being transparent. I guess you have a different definition of transparency than I do. I remember at one point on your website stating that you vowed to be more transparent. Jeannie, if you're truly being transparent, then why didn't you set up the meeting for public comment about the ratification of the general plan before the ratification vote? Areas within 1,000 feet of rezoning of open space or trails should have received a notice in the mail describing the changes to the property affected. This is a law that was not followed in 2023 or 2026. Jeannie, did you disclose on February 3rd, prior to the ratification vote, that you lived within 300 feet of property next to your neighborhood that was changing from commercial to residential that would benefit your neighborhood? Whether or not this is a hidden agenda regarding this, not disclosing this information looks shady and like you're trying to hide something. This is a conflict of interest for you being the mayor. Again, transparency in all areas is clearly the best option than with dealing with the community. The city attorney said on January 6th that the city council could ratify this illegal vote and then turn around and vote for a new general plan. I believe we could fix this issue more cost effectively. Our city can, or the city can force us to Plan B.
Thank you, Scott.
Hi, my name's Kurt Williams. I live on Laurelwood Drive and had a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share. They're also about the general plan, but it's something different than I think that has been brought up in the past. As I've looked at the general plan, I look at especially the feedback. I've spent about 20 years making a software company that does feedback. I no longer am involved in that business, and I wouldn't portray myself as a statistician, but I probably know as much as anybody about the topic. And so I look at the feedback, and this echoes some of the responses. A lot's been made about, hey, the public's had a chance to give feedback. And you had your chance, and the meta message has been, you had your chance. If you didn't share it, we'll get back to it later this year. Now, for those of us that don't like the general plan and didn't know about it, that's surprising, and it's a message of, we don't really want the public's feedback right now. Maybe later, but not now. So let's look at the feedback that's in it. One of the surveys has about 17 people in it, and there was a public open house period that my professional opinion is that it's rife with a lot of problems. It basically has not just sample bias problems, but it has structural problems in how that feedback was gathered. The conclusions drawn are almost always backwards of what they should be. So there's a real problem there, but let me give you an example. The 17 responses, that's a margin of error of 25 to 30%. So let me put that in perspective. That means that when you made a decision based on the feedback of the public, that's like going down to a full house at the U of U in their football stadium and saying, I wonder how everybody here feels and asking both teams, the cheerleaders and the coaching staff, and trying to deduce what 50,000 people thought off just those people. It's just not enough. It's basically, it's worse than a coin flip. So as you make decisions, don't make decisions based on that. So that's one point. The other thing is the feedback that was in there seems to have been ignored. So for example, when people want open spaces, and then basically we're going to have a plan in there to build out the golf course with a whole lot less on open space, it doesn't square. So it's almost like the feedback was gathered improperly, then the conclusions were overgeneralized and then kind of ignored. So the last point that I want to make is you had about 90 people that came the last meeting. We didn't seem to really look at them and say, hey, why is that feedback not more significant than what we got during our open houses? So, and I know I'm at time. I think there's an easy button. I think there's an easy button in here. I don't know why we would wait until later this year to address this. There's some simple things that some people seem to be upset about, which is like trails on their property. I don't know why we wouldn't jump on that immediately, restore a feeling of good faith with the people that are involved. We talked during the election. You want people involved, right? They're involved. They're active. They're ready to participate. Take advantage of that. Use it. Make a couple of changes. Get that going. I think it goes a long way to restoring people's faith. We'll have a great plan. I loved the last meeting. I wasn't here, but I watched it. Let's have a plan we like, one that reflects what the public actually has to say. And I think that's what people really want, is that they want to be heard. They want to have a chance to be heard and have something done about it. I think you have a great opportunity to do that, and would invite you to do so. Thanks.
Thank you, Kurt.
First, Mark, I appreciate your apology, and that's very good. I spoke a little bit about the general plan last time. I went home and decided I'd reread it, and it was really kind of an interesting experience. In reading the general plan, what I'd looked at previously, I never had bothered to look at the appendixes to it, which include these surveys. You couldn't help but, if you read the surveys, understand that that does not meet what the public even asked for, even though it was such a small percentage of people that responded. And so if you're going to base your plan upon input from the citizens clearly do not. I would challenge each one of you up front to read the general plan. If you've already read it, skip that, but go back and look at the survey information that was there, and you'll understand why there's the feelings there are right now. Secondly, I decided to just do a word search and see how many times Davis County Golf Course was named in the general plan. 63 times in almost every section of the general plan. It was going to provide a new place for moderate income housing. It was going to provide a new city center. It was going to provide additional parks. All these things that are there hinge upon Davis County Golf Course going away. The overwhelming sentiment in the city is not to have Davis County Golf Course go away. To have a general plan that is centered upon that throughout the entire document seems so erroneous. I would encourage you again to go back and look at that. 63 times in the general plan. Almost every other page. And it's tied to every section of it. I appreciate you giving me that amount of time to talk about that. There's one other issue I'd like to just address real quickly. I was at the planning meeting, 3 weeks ago, and there was an issue come up about some property over in the HOA. Since I happened to be on the planning commission at that time, I'd encourage the city to go back and look at what the covenants were. That development was developed with the idea of open space being limited to general use and was supposed to be maintained by the HOA. If the city is going to allow transfer of that property, they're letting the HOA out of their obligation they had when that building was, or that subdivision was built, that allowed them to have a lot of different things, different streets, different curb and gutters, and it was all in the name of open space. So if that open space is not being maintained, to give it to a private party, put the obligation on them is not the way to do it. I'd say the the HOA really ought to be responsible for doing what they committed to. Thank you.
Would you mind stating your name for the record?
I'm sorry, Frank Lever.
Hi, I'm Nicole Williams, and I live at 1183 Laurelwood Drive, wife to Kurt Williams that just spoke. I just want you to know kind of my background. I've always felt myself very informed citizen. I volunteered for, roughly probably 7 years for Fruit Heights City. I started up the YCC program and grew that program. So I've always felt very informed and volunteered and liked to get involved with politics. And I decided to get involved in this election that we just had because I heard some information that was being spread and I knew there was no truth to some of it. And I just thought, you know what, I need to get involved because I don't like what's being said about like cemeteries. That was kind of why I got involved, because I heard some misinformation. And then we came onto this plan, and I've never even knew about this general plan. And I'm like, how did I not know about a change in Fruit Heights City? I've lived here for 17 years, and I feel pretty informed. I read the Ridge Runner. Who reads the Ridge Runner? I read that. I love it. So let's see. We did the mayor put out a memo, and I did some research. She states that we had multiple opportunities for public input, including public hearing. And so I just went, why didn't I hear about those opportunities? And so I went through and I looked, and nowhere in the Ridge Runner was it posted that we were going to have a public open house for, it was the November 18th one, and then the March, it's all the way down here, the March 16th one. It wasn't posted in the Ridge Runner. So how am I supposed to know if I read that as a document to get my information? It wasn't posted. The Easter egg hunt was, a blood drive was, but a public input for an open house was not posted. Then I looked at the agenda back for City Council and Planning Commission. Not once was it posted in the agenda on the calendar for upcoming public input. It wasn't. And I'm like, okay, so how else are we supposed to be informed? Facebook? Who's on Facebook all the time? I just feel like we weren't informed. I feel like the public is here. We can get more involved. I don't want to be involved. I'd rather be at my son's basketball game. And I just want you to listen to the people. We weren't informed. And I don't like that trails are going through private property. I don't like that the future could be commercial for Harvey Park. And I'm just going to leave one quick story. My grandpa had 100 acres in Layton. The city designated in the middle of his 100 acres a park. He did not want that park there. And when he sold his land, guess what's there? A park. And guess who it's named after? A city employee. And it was on their plan.
Thank you, Nicole.
I don't want to go in front of anybody else. Is anybody else going to go? My name's Andy Oblad. I'm not a resident of Fruit Heights. I live in Farmington. I'm running for sheriff. I wanted to introduce myself and talk a little bit about that, but I'll be brief. I don't think I'll take 3 minutes. I've been in law enforcement for 28 years. I started my career in Salt Lake City, and I worked there for 21 years, serving and rising up through the ranks. I was involved in several high-profile cases, retired there as a lieutenant, and went and worked for the Utah Jazz for about two seasons. I was their team security. I traveled around with the team and the players and coaches. It was a lot of travel. I knew that was the case when I got involved, but after 2 seasons, I decided that was enough traveling and applied to work with the sheriff's office. Sheriff Kelly Sparks had just been elected in 2018, and 2019 he started as sheriff, and he appointed me to be a chief deputy over law enforcement, and I served for 4 years as a law enforcement chief. I then served for 2 years as administration chief deputy, and for the last year I've been serving as a corrections chief deputy, so I'm over the jail now. And so that I was glad to hear about the tour. And I didn't get to participate, but we had our best people doing that. And it is a long tour, big jail, and it's clean and it's nice. But yeah, we want our kids to never go there, right? And so I appreciated the comment. I'll tell our staff that they were appreciated. I'm running for sheriff for a few reasons. Number one, my boss, the sheriff, is retiring this year. And we've been talking a lot about it. He told me that he will endorse me if I run for sheriff, but he wants to retire and he wants to be done. And I can support him in that. I feel like we've done a lot of good things in the sheriff's office. This is my 8th year. We've made some changes. We've fixed some problems. And things are working really well at the sheriff's office. I would like to continue our momentum and the good things that we're doing into the future. I appreciate Fruit Heights particularly because you're one of our contract cities. We provide law enforcement for you. And I would like to stay around and meet you and answer any questions you might have or hear any ideas or criticism that you might have, how we're doing as a sheriff's office, how we're doing and how we can improve. And it's nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you coming. Anyone else? Okay, looks like we're done. All right.
Colton Simonson. I live right over here on the Heights Way. Wasn't planning on it. Inspired by Scott. No, I think what a lot of us are feeling is there's like distrust. I think you running for sheriff, the best thing you do is just be honest. Because I feel like everybody in here, everybody at the last meeting, everybody, when was it, like December or November, when we were having a homeless shelter on the other side of this, our street. I feel like we just feel like we're getting screwed left and right when we're not paying attention. And that's the honest truth. It's like, what do we have to do to get our city officials to be honest? Our last mayor lied to us blatantly, told us not, told everybody the public doesn't need to know. And it seems like that's just happening over and over again. I have 3 little girls that play in this park every day. We don't need our little city to grow into some shopping center or whatever you want to put here. If you don't want it here, then it doesn't need to be in the plan. So if that's like if you think, oh, that'll never happen, it just doesn't need to be there. I wasn't able to make it to the last one, but I heard it was a marathon. But you guys are becoming very popular for the wrong reasons. You talk about the youth council. I've lived here for 20 years. I grew up down the street. I came to youth council. It is not what I imagined. They did not tell us to hide things from the public, hide things from the city of good neighbors. It's becoming the opposite. I moved from somewhere recently, or a few years ago, because they did the same thing. We built a house, a couple of years. General plan had apartments right behind us. Crime went up, we moved out. Built a house where I grew up. Planned on being here for a long time. But if any of this happens, it's going to happen again. We'll put our house up for sale and we'll move out. So just urge you, please be honest with the people of Fruit Heights. That's why some of you got voted in, because we figured that maybe that will happen. But it's not happening. So it's very frustrating as a citizen, as the majority of my life living here, thinking one thing and seeing another, and being promised one thing and seeing another thing happen. So please just be honest.
Thank you, Colton. Anyone else? Okay, we will move on. I am more than happy to speak with anyone who's expressed concerns just now after the meeting. I'm happy to do that. At this time, we're going to move on to what is on our agenda this evening. Presentations. Number 5, we have our fire chief here. Give us a report from Farmington Fire.
I don't know if I can make that any bigger for you.
It works for me.
That works for you?
That's good.
About as good as it can get. All right.
Is it easier for you if I click? Just, it's okay.
I'm happy to
Okay.
do whatever.
That sounds great. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me be here this evening. One of the things I like to, first let me introduce myself. I'm sorry. My name is Shelby Willis, and I'm the fire chief with Farmington. And I've been with Farmington for just about 8 months. And one of the things that I like to do at the end of the year is do an annual report. So those are some of the things that I've done this evening. I provided a written report to the council and to the city manager, and I'd like to go through some of the highlights of this report. Happy to answer any questions that you have during or at the end. So the initial slide is to talk a little bit about the staffing and the structure of Farmington. Obviously, fire chief, underneath me is 3 battalion chiefs, 3 captains, 3 engineers, 3 paramedic specialists, and 6 firefighters. We staff on average 7 minimum every day and 8 maximum every day. And the important part of this is, how does this relate to, or how does this respond when we have to go through emergency response? So we can staff a battalion chief who does incident command. We'll put 3 people on a fire apparatus, 2 on a paramedic rescue that provides advanced ALS care, and 2 on an ambulance, which provides basic EMS care. One of the interesting points about our staffing, and this is predominantly across the western United States, is our firefighters work for 48 hours straight. They come in at 8 in the morning, for example, on a Monday, they leave at 8 in the morning on a Wednesday. So the beauty of this for them is they work for 48 hours, but they're off for 96. I came from the East Coast of the United States. This wasn't prevalent at all there. We worked a 24-hour shift and then head off for 48 hours. So it's just an interesting dynamic. You can switch. One of the things that Farmington has is a very robust fleet program. Because of the types of calls of service that we respond to, EMS, fire, canyon rescue, different types of calls that are in that realm, we have fire trucks. We actually have fire apparatus. One of the fire trucks we have has an aerial ladder that can reach 116 feet. So the important part of that is, as we have elevated structures throughout Davis County, we can reach 8 stories with an elevated master stream. We have brush trucks that can go up into the canyon. We have a rover that actually has a stretcher. So if we need to go up in the canyon and rescue someone, we can bring that person down on the back of a stretcher instead of trying to carry them. And then, of course, we have EMS vehicles. We have paramedic units and ambulances. So this is an important slide. This is the service delivery for Fruit Heights. And why I think this is important is 2.3 square miles doesn't sound like a big, diverse area. However, 6,000 residents. You have residential and recreational areas. You have a highway that can have 25 to 50,000 people traveling through it. And then Cherry Hill that can have 150,000 people that visit annually. That can cause a lot of potential for risk. So it's one of the things that we look at when we look at risk abatement, or as we plan, how do we provide resources to your city? These are some of the things that are important to us. So let's talk about calls. We had over 200 calls in Fruit Heights in 2025. As you can see, predominantly medical is the major response. 71 fire calls, 182 medical calls. You can go to the next slide. One of the things I thought was really interesting is, how do these calls break down as time of day and day of the week, which was really interesting to me. We have Mondays and Saturdays that are your busiest times. And then during the day, 2 p.m. in the afternoon is the busiest time where you see call volume. And I'm sure it's because, honestly, traffic and then EMS calls, people are home. They're leaving if they're going, to and from work, but they're home at that time. And you can go on. And this is our medical services type of calls. This is really hard for you all to see. The predominantly the large, obviously, tab that you see there is just normal medical calls, where somebody calls and says, I'm not feeling well, cardiac, respiratory, they have a fall. That is predominantly the call that we respond to mostly, and then we'll have falls. Very few vehicle accidents. There are several, but very few vehicle accidents with injuries, which is a great statistic. And the next one, sir. So now we're going to talk about fire calls for service. One of the biggest calls, the tallest column you'll see there, is actually canceled en route. So if someone calls 911 because someone is passing by and says they see a fire, or they're calling to report something, by the time we get here, as we start to pull up on scene, we can be canceled by law enforcement. We can be canceled by another fire department if they've got here sooner. The actual biggest true call that we see is wires down, and then miscellaneous fires. So it could be somebody has a fire outside of a structure, there could be an illegal burn, things like that. But predominantly, as you saw, there's not a ton of fire calls, which is excellent. We plotted these calls for you to see. So if you look at your fire district and EMS district, the red dots are the fire calls, the blue dots are the EMS calls. And it's just an interesting statistic to see across your city where are the calls occurring. And you can change that. And this is another interesting slide. This is the WUI Wildland Urban Interface Hazard Potential. And this comes actually from the Forestry Service. They've plotted all of the WUI land across the state of Utah. The red is actually the best case, the lowest risk, and the white is the highest risk. So the great part about this slide denotes that the highest risk for Fruit Heights is a very small amount of properties within your city. And I'm really happy to report that none of these properties are going to get an annual fee this year. Our risk, the state regulated a risk from 1 to 8. 7 and 8 are the two highest scores for risk, and those are the properties that will be charged an annual fee. Nowhere in Davis County is there a property that has received this score, so that's outstanding. Go ahead. One of the things that Farmington had done previously is we obviously have a fire prevention division, and I like to talk about community risk reduction. So our goal in this particular division is to evaluate risk. How do we mitigate that, or how do we prepare for that risk, and how do we prevent that risk? So in the past, we've had a part-time inspector and a part-time fire marshal. About 3 months ago, was able to get that position upgraded to a full-time position. So our full-time fire marshal does a number of things. He does plan reviews, he does community hazard assessments, he does fire alarm, fire services for sprinklers, for hydrants if we get new properties. And then, of course, his inspection schedule. There are inspections by state law that he has to do on an annual basis. And then we can do some every 2 years and then every 3 years. And he does that for both Fruit Heights and for Farmington. So now I'm going to change a little bit and talk a little bit about our staff. One of the things we have to do, because we're an EMS and a fire agency, is complete an annual amount of training in both categories. If you are a certified EMT or a paramedic, you have to do between 50 and 60 hours of medical training every 2 years in order to get relicensed by the state and by the National Registry. If you're a firefighter, the goal is to do 119 hours per firefighter on an annual basis, on top of driver training, hazmat training, and officer training. So in 2025, Farmington employees did over 4,000 training hours. We meet the national standard for fire and for EMS, then you can see the additional hours of training that we provide. Education is something that is very, very important to our staff. And then another interesting item, we have to do a physical fitness test every year. And every firefighter completes this test. They do it usually in the fall. And this is just the objects or the obstacles that they complete. It's not necessarily timed, but they can't stop. So at the point that they start this physical fitness test, they have to move through this process smoothly until they've completed all of these items, and each person, regardless if you're male, female, age, how big you are, how small you are, you're wearing full turnout gear with a pack, and that adds about 60 to 70 pounds to your weight. So I always complain. I weigh about 115 pounds, and I'm carrying the same amount of weight as someone, as the deputy sheriff here would like to, would wear. Go ahead, sir. And one of the other things that's very important to us is community outreach. So some of the things we do on a regular basis is we do station tours. We feel it's really important that if residents, citizens, children, schools want to come in and see what the fire station looks like, what do our resources look like, how does the fire station operate, we do that pretty much every day. And if we can do it during our day hours, we're willing to do so. We have student riders. We partner with Weber State University for EMT and paramedic student riders to get their ride time. In addition, we partner with high schools in Davis County and Weber County, and those students are allowed to come in for 1 semester and do an internship, and it helps them learn, do they want to go into the fire service, or do they want to go into EMS as a career? And they do that for a grade and for credit hours. Obviously, we do fireworks patrols. We do that all through the month of July, around 4th of July, and then, of course, Pioneer Day. We attended Founders Day, and we do Festivals Day for Farmington. We did something that was really interesting this year. Hill Air Force Base had a regional combat challenge, and that is a series of activities where firefighters across the state can compete, and they do a hose stretch, they carry obstacles up 5 flights, they carry 170-pound dummy, they hoist equipment. Farmington actually had the only male-female joint team, and we finished last, and we were really proud that we got to compete against every other team. And then on 9/11, Lagoon allowed Farmington, some of the law enforcement agencies, and the other fire agencies in Davis County to do a stair climb. And we used their roller coaster Cannibal. They have a 10-story stair that goes outside of the roller coaster. We climbed those 10 stories 7 times to equal the number of stairs that firefighters had to climb when 9/11 towers started to collapse. So it was over 2,900 stairs. And we all did this to honor those firefighters. We do a charity kickball tournament once a year, and then, of course, fire prevention open house once a year. Go ahead, sir. And then if I haven't alluded to this yet, our personnel are our most important asset. And one of the things that I wanted to share was that we have firefighters that have 3 months of experience, and we have firefighters that have 30 years of experience. So it's really interesting to see the age group, obviously the tenure in the fire service, and how we all work together as a diverse team. It's really powerful. We also did several promotions during the past year, over 2025. The captain's promotion was internal, external, and we were fortunate that the person that scored well and was able to fill the position was an internal person. So I think it really validates that you have wonderful people and you have talented people when you can test them against their surrounding peers and they finish at the top of the list. And then, of course, we did the same for engineer and paramedic specialist. So as we conclude this presentation, right now Farmington City is working on their budget as well. I do not have an increase in personnel. I was fortunate to get that at the 4-month mark. I came in and asked for 3 additional firefighters, and I asked to move the fire marshal to full-time, and I was granted permission to do that, so that's already occurred. So my budget should be equipment changes, and then, of course, capturing inflation for different programs. And then the last item I wanted to talk about is we are in the process of building the second fire station. That fire station is behind Cabela's on Innovator Drive. We have, in fact, this evening, my city council is learning the cost of that fire station. It's coming in well under budget, which is wonderful. It's actually coming in like 1.4 million under the proposed budget. And hopefully in the next 5 to 6 weeks, we'll break ground, and it'll take about 13 months to build. That concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for the chief?
I'd like to make a couple comments. since I kind of am a liaison with your department, I think this presentation was very well done. I liked the numbers in there and the service. And I really appreciate how you've supported us for the fireworks on the 24th of July and the 4th of July. And each time I've seen your people driving through the city or up on the new road watching. And then Blake, I don't know if the youth have done a tour, but I've done 2 tours at the fire department. I think that'd be fascinating for the youth council to maybe do a tour sometime.
I'll recommend it.
They
That'd be
did
great.
one last year.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what month. I think maybe not this group, but the previous group.
But yeah,
It was
very
really
well
good.
done. Enjoy
Thank you.
working with
Very thorough
you
as well.
and your team.
Thank you.
That's great.
I have a question as well. Yeah, I used to live in Layton, and I was able to go through the CERT training with the fire department up there. I don't believe that the Farmington department has a CERT program. Have you looked into something like that?
We do. We absolutely do. So
Oh, you do?
we do. Battalion Chief Gary McCloy runs the CERT program, and we partner with some of the local churches, and it's a phenomenal program. They actually participated in the November emergency management exercise, and their focus was how do we communicate with the citizens should we realize a disaster before and after. So we actually have a pretty good CERT program.
Perfect. We should encourage our residents to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
participate in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here tonight and for that report. Okay, number 7, maybe it should be number 6. Discussion items. Number 1, change order for glass for the City Hall project. Darren, you want to fill us in?
So the glass one is actually just trying to fix some of the window sills that are leaking in the building and also to match the color. New standards require the glass to be tinted for heating and cooling and all those kind of things. Our city building is 1993 is when it was completed, and the glass has been in that long, and it's clear glass. The new glass that will be going in the new will have the tinting in it and be darker. And some of the seals are broken on some of the glass. So I did ask them to give us a bid to see what it would be to replace the glass around the building so all the glass matched, and also those that are leaking, that they'd be sealed in with the new glass and new seals. The bid for that is $13,597 if they do not need to replace any of the seals. My bet, being 30 plus years old, the seals would need to be replaced, and that's the reason a lot of the windows do have the moisture in between, is because of the seals are broken. So that's just one that I talked to the builder about why they were going through the process, and thought I'd bring it to the council for their decision if they would want to move forward with that during the project.
So this isn't really a change to the actual project. This is supplementing the project.
This is an addition to the project on
Okay.
this one. So, so that's what that is. One thing I wanted the council to look at that and see if that's something that they wanted to go with. The budget is under budget for the whole project, and this would definitely not bring us over to the project.
To be clear, this is really $15,000, right? Because there's almost no chance that the sills aren't bad.
That would, yeah. I was kind of just like, well, why didn't you just put it there? You already know that there's moisture in this one, and there's a couple of these that have moisture in, and there's a couple over there. The seals are bad. And the likelihood of pulling them apart and saving the seal, I think, is probably pretty slim.
And do we even
But-
want them to do that with the risk of?
Replacing the seal and then coming back because it failed.
Right. Just
Right.
don't waste
And
your
so,
time.
But I just wanted to bring that to the council to let you discuss that and see if that's one direction that you wanted to move, or if we just want to continue on and then you do it at a later date. But it is within the budget.
Is this the same glass company that's doing the other
Yeah, it's the
portion?
same. Yeah, it's the same glass company that's doing everything. And so
So it'll all match. for
Yeah,
sure.
so all the glass would match as they went through and did it all, so.
And this would be to replace all of the windows?
Yep, it's all the windows. Not including the ones that are already going in, because they're
But
already
it would,
included.
the offices
Yeah,
and everything
Yeah, all the way around the building, yep,
downstairs?
yep. So everything would be matching. So that was the first thing. And I'll let you guys discuss that one if you don't have any questions. And then the second one I have for an actual change order is the ADA access for the basement doors. When I went through the plan, I didn't recognize that it wasn't, the opener and stuff was not down on the basement. We had everything up here, when all the wording and everything got transferred to the basement, it left that portion out. I did not have a bid until this morning. I had a price range, which was between $5,000 and $10,000. I did get the bid this morning, and the bid was $5,858.10 to put the ADA access in the basement. So that is a change order. I was just going to come to the council and ask for approval up to a certain amount to be able to go forward with that change order. But that is a requirement we'll need to go into the basement doors, is an ADA access where you can push the button and go forward.
Is that going to be a double door down there on the, because you're going to have the little, whatever you call it, and then there'll be another set of doors.
Yeah, so you'll have
So,
the outer
2
doors
doors.
that'll open up, and then you'll have the inner doors that'll open up.
And so they'll both be double doors?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
How come they didn't recognize it when we went out for bid? I mean, the whole reason we're doing it is because we need to make it ADA compliant, so. it's
It
just
was
a
actually
little-
the contractor, when we got done with our pre-con, he just said, hey, I just was going through everything. I recognize you don't need the ADA. Are you bringing them in through the basement and going down an elevator or something to get to the back? That's when we found out about it. Like I said, it's during the pre-con. As we were going through all the different document line items, that's when it was brought up. And like I said, they thought, oh, they're just bringing everybody through to get to the basement. They'll just go down an elevator. We don't have an elevator, so we still have to provide it on the back. And it's just a line item that did not end up on the back with everything else, so.
So for some context, the budget that was budgeted for this entire project was over 500,000.
Yep.
Looking at the contract that we approved back in January, it was for 415, just under it. And so you've just outlined that the glass tier would be 15, if we ought to do that, and the ADA opener about 6.
Yeah, so we're still a long ways under the budget for those projects. So, yeah, for those couple of changes. So,
So it was 58, was that?
yeah, just under 6,000, 5,858.10 is what their bid came into. So,
And then with this one,
you're about 15,000,
15 with the seals.
and then 1597. So you're just over 20,000 for the two things if you wanted to do both. It's not saying that we need to do the glass, but aesthetic wise, I think it would make a big difference.
So where we did not get the bid for the ADA thing in our packet, is that something we should table?
Well, I didn't have it in the packet because I didn't have it.
Right.
I was actually just going to come in and ask for an amount because I did have a price range. They were waiting for the company to come back and say what those were, and they just couldn't get them to me before this morning. So my plan was just to come in and ask if I could go to a certain amount for a change order and move forward that way. So they can have the stuff ordered because it is like 4 weeks out, and they want to have the project done in about 4 weeks.
You expect completion in 4 weeks?
They're expecting right close to the end of March to be completed. So weather with holding. So it is.
So 5 or 6 weeks, really. 5 weeks?
4 to 5 weeks. They've got a lot more of the block will probably be done this week. They just brought their last order in. And they blocked quite a bit today, and then they have, then they'll get the rest in. And like I said, they're waiting on doors, and a couple other things, but they'll move pretty quick as they start to go forward after this. The trusses in the back have been ordered, so we'll have those within the next week and a half. And then the front ones are still on order, so it's going a lot quicker than we thought it would as far as that, so.
Nice.
And weather's helped out. So
I added those figures together for a rough number of 435, 955 and 10 cents about.
yeah, probably.
About 436. And our budget that we planned for was 500.
550,000.
550.
So it is in the budget to be able to do those things if the council would like.
Discussion on those 2 items? Okay. Budget 7.3, budget water fund and vehicle fund. I'm going to walk through these 2 pieces of our city budget as Darren is preparing the tentative budget for us for this year. These are the first ones.
This is the beginning of the budget projects for this next year. I had the opportunity to meet with Councilmember Anderson and Councilmember Hell a couple weeks ago, and begin to go through the water fund and also go through the vehicle and equipment fund. I still don't have all the figures for both these funds, but I do spend a lot of time with Lane going through the water and the vehicle fund over the last few weeks before that, of making sure that we were able to cover some of the costs that are coming up, and also going through for items that are needed to continue to operate those funds as far as meters and different things. Lane has talked about putting some parts on the shelves. Right now, we have no spare parts on the shelves. We run downtown when we need them, or run down to the local parts store and hopefully they have them. But we want to get a few basic parts sitting on the shelves so we have those in an emergency, so we're not tied up and trying to find parts. So there's a few of those parts that we want on here. The majority of our budget's amounts are pretty close to what they were the previous years. As far as that, we did add another water project. We have the 650 water line extension that we've been looking at and working on for the last year. We've continued to keep that on the budget because that's one that we'll continue to work on and hopefully be able to get going in the next year or two, along with the animal care. We also added a PRV station, and this PRV station is right down here by the pedestrian overpass, and that will help us put another connection going across Highway 89 where we can have the water going across. Right now we have that turned off because it backfeeds and fills the lower tank. So we have it turned off because it's all coming from higher zones. So we have it turned off and we're not able to bring that water across. But if we can put a PRV station in, we can adjust that so we can actually turn that on and have water coming from both zones coming into the west side of town right there.
And that connection underneath Highway 89 is already there, right?
Yeah, the connection, everything for Highway 89 was there. With the new connection, when they did Highway 89, we're able to tie in the lower system over there. But how the PRVs are set, it backfeeds and fills the lower tank, so we could never have that turned on unless we drop pressures for everybody else on this side, and then we would have pressure issues on this side. So there needs to be another PRV station, and that's what that would be for, is to control that pressure going across on this end, so we could make sure we're another crossing for Highway 89, which is very important. So.
Can you go into the 650 North Water Line extension?
So the 650 North Water Line extension has to do with Coming across from the Rock Loft over to 650 North, there are a few benefits for that. Right now, our fire flows at the north end are at the lower area, just because of flows and how far they are away from everything. Running a line going across the top does two things. It provides more pressure, and it also provides better fire flows for the north end of town. And also, Davis County is in the process of getting ready to build a animal care center. And right now, they need more water and more pressure over there to be
So
able
would they
to
be
construct that.
participating in that?
No, they wouldn't be participating in the water part of it. That would be possibly if the Barker subdivision would be that portion, and then we would just have the small portion going over to 650 from that point. We used to serve both the animal care and Davis County shops, but our pressures and our flows were so low that they switched to Kaysville, which did not improve them a whole lot, but gave them a little bit more water. But if we can bring a water line across the top, that would improve that whole area of town with fire protection and with pressures for people.
So you're working with the Barkers on that, or
Their developer, we're talking with their developer and stuff like that, yes.
So there would be some participation there then?
Oh, yeah. So,
Thank you.
any questions about the water
Questions on the
budget?
water budget?
Maybe just for the sake of everyone who's here, hydrant replacement, that's just something that is kind of ongoing, right?
Yeah. So we budget every year to replace 3 or 4 fire hydrants in different areas that are old or not working. We did 4 this year, 3 this year, 4 this year. We were able to do 4. 2 of them were unplanned, but we've replaced 4 hydrants. We have some others in other areas that aren't working correctly. So as we get there, we try to replace a couple, and the increased cost on those is a lot. So.
They've gone from about 3,000 to 9,000 in the
Yeah.
last.
If we replace them as a city and do it ourselves and not contract it out, Wayne and I went through it. It costs the city about 12 grand to do it. By the time we patch and do everything and replace valves, it's about 15 to have somebody do that same thing, to contract somebody to do it. So the last 3 or 4 Lane and his team has done for the city. So we're able to actually do 1 more than we would have regularly by our team doing it. So,
That cost and labor.
yep. Yeah, so the cost, labor, everything, patching, it saves us if we can do it as our team in-house. And they're very good about it. So, and they can do it in about a day. So, which is nice.
Well, and we haven't been stressing them by plowing snow day and night either. So, yeah, no, I'm hoping we do get.
We want the snow,
some-
but
No, it's not necessarily.
just not necessarily down here. So,
A question about purchasing equipment to keep on our shelves. Is there any possibility of purchasing bulk and getting any discounts there? Or is that something that we don't typically do?
I'll have that much storage. And I think it comes down to insurance right there.
yeah, well, there's a couple different things. If you have a lot of storage of parts and stuff like that, it becomes an audit, and you have to show that as a asset, and then you have depreciation, everything goes with it. Your best bang for the buck is to have a couple parts for each size of pipe, and maybe 1 or 2 valves. So that's the option that we usually try to go with, but we've just not been able to do that over the last few years. We've used them up and then just have not replaced them. And so as we've talked about that, that's something that we want to replace. So we have those on the shelves. In an emergency, we're not calling down and trying to get people to open up stores for us at midnight or 2 in the morning. So. Okay, the vehicle and equipment and maintenance. This is another one that I had the opportunity to meet with a couple council members and begin and go over. There are some things that the staff is looking at. We've had some issues with, I will tell you, with a couple of the international trucks that we purchased 6 years ago, 7 years ago. They're out of warranty. They're just and very expensive to fix. Lane has looked at different cities, talked with a lot of different cities of what they're switching to. They're dropping down to the 550 size and going to the four-wheel drive, once again, four-wheel drive. And so we're going to look at purchasing a new F550 and turning it in and selling one of the internationals and making sure it works for our city. I believe it will. We used to use 450s, but I think the 550 is probably a better option with that. Along with that, we're looking at another smaller utility cart, not as big as the Bobcat, but the next sign down, like the Kubota, that we can drive across the parks and carry a lot of things, but also be able to put some dirt and materials in to carry around and just do the main maintenance around our parks and those kind of things. The Bobcat is great for a lot of the projects that we do, and being able to sweep the road, be able to sweep up, be able to plow the sidewalks, all those kind of things. This one's going to be a lot smaller compared to the Kubota or a small little John Deere. And so that's another piece of equipment that they're also looking at this year, along with a couple attachments. We have a compactor plate that we need for the excavator that we can compact our trenches and holes when we dig them. And also I want to call it a rammer. Is that correct? And yeah, so a rammer. So we're able to go in and break things out when we're trying to get through things. So there's a couple attachments that we'd also like to look at purchasing this year. So that would follow under the equipment and capital purchases on that. Is the 550 used for snow removal as well? Yeah, it would be used for snow removal and just day-to-day, just like the other two. Just hopefully not as expensive to fix when it needs to. We've had one of the internationals where already the front end has had to be replaced. And we don't know if it's because of the snowplow, we don't know, but it was out of warranty. And so that was a bill that we had to flip to fix that. And so it's kind of concerning that we're having those kind of issues with it, so.
Going to be able to get them sold anyway for some amount of money?
Yeah, we'll be able to get them, so that, I think that's not the issue, but we'll do one this year and see how well it works. And if we can get it, we were able to get the 10-wheeler that we ordered 2 years ago. Wayne picked that up the last of December. We finally got that truck delivered with the equipment on it. So,
Ordered 2 years ago.
yeah, it took 2 years to get everything to
They were
get
so
here.
far behind on COVID
Yep.
that
So,
we budgeted for that, 2 years before that?
yeah, a year before that we budgeted for it, but it took that long to get that truck here. So, so we're just looking at those options right now as we go through the budget.
So if we don't have snow, you don't get to try it and see if it really works well?
He drove it down the road already once with the plow down just to see if it actually worked or not. So we have tried it out for a block. And there was enough snow that it did. You could see that he'd went down the road right there. So that was good. It was like this much, but it was able to see it. Some of the other things that go along with the vehicle and equipment. A lot of the money there is a contribution from the other funds because it doesn't generate money except for the interest or the sale of a vehicle. But the sale of a vehicle is, from my understanding, as I've went through the budget the last couple of years, falls for the amount you get from the depreciation, above the depreciation of that vehicle. That's what goes into as a sale of a vehicle. The rest of it falls into the depreciation and those portions of it. So I don't have an amount in there yet because if I'm not going to sell anything, I don't want to have an amount in there. So I don't have an amount in that one yet as far as a sale of an asset and a gain. Also, I don't have all the anticipated fund balance use, if we need to or if we don't need to. It depends on where we are on our vehicle fund. If we're going to purchase all the equipment, there will be a certain amount that comes out of the fund balance that goes forward. And there is a good fund balance there that we can move forward with a transaction out of the fund balance. But any questions on the vehicle maintenance?
So international, we're going international again.
Our big truck is, the new one that we bought 2 years ago, we just received, is an international. We haven't had the issues with the bigger trucks.
The 10-wheeler.
That big, we just haven't had the issue.
Our last international we had for 20, how many years?
2011? Is that, or 2012 is the one we got right now? 2013 is the
So
one we
20
have
years?
right now.
No, 10 years.
Yeah, 12 years, but expenditures are pretty close to the same as you go down through that portion of the budget. There's not really any big increases. We think that we're running pretty lean in there. One thing that I will tell you that we have talked about the last few months is a lift for the shop, so that just the basic maintenance on our equipment we're able to do. But that's just, we're in discussions of that right now, making sure that we have the time to do the maintenance with the staff we have, and we're not letting other things slide. But that is another thing that we are looking at this time to possibly put into this budget. So.
And there's space for a lift.
Yeah. Yep. There
Do you
is.
have any idea what a ballpark cost for a lift is?
So.
So that would probably be playing with the fund balance again.
Yeah, we're gonna, like I said, there are some touch-ups that we need to go through here. I will tell you, I wasn't here last week, so I didn't get a lot of the things I wanted done for this council meeting, but I did want to get started in making sure the council is seeing what we're looking at, and also where we're headed as we go through this budget year. And then I'll have a meeting once again with Councilmember Answer and Councilmember Hell this next Monday. And we'll be looking at some of the other funds that we're starting to look at.
On that lift, is that something that you would use so infrequently that it might make sense to buy used rather than new?
So I've looked at buying used, and because they have to be ASI certified to go to government facility. And that's something I gotta do some more research on. I don't know how to get a used piece of equipment ASI certified.
KSL, come on.
Yes. So, well, any questions about the vehicle?
I have nothing. Nope. Okay.
Come on, Gary. You gotta have one.
Not this time.
The compactor plate and the hydraulic jackhammer. So what was that? There was another one?
Utility vehicle. So the three items in the capital, or I should say four items in the capital outlay for a vehicle and equipment, an F-550 truck and equipment, which would include a salt machine, dump bed, plow, and all the stuff to make sure that works. And then a small utility vehicle. They've looked at a couple different ones. They've looked at a little John Deere that has a little dump bed on it and stuff like that. That's close to what the Kubota is. And then loader forks. There are quite a few times we use the forks, but we need some bigger ones that are able to not bend when they're lifting things out of trucks. And then the hammer and the vibrating plate. And both those things would hook on to the mini excavator, so when they're out on the job, they'd have both those. So.
Okay, awesome. Any further questions before we move on?
Update on the subdivision on the north end. Is that all going?
On the Barker property, They've installed the storm drain. That's pretty much completed. They will be doing a water tie-in that they still are required to do down on Mountain Road. And we're waiting to patching. Before you do that?
Yeah, so all the utilities are done. Until we do the road patching, we'll do the water tie-in. Then they'll be tied in, or it can start curb and gutter sometime in March, I believe, if everything goes as scheduled. And then, when temperatures improve, they'll pay.
Thank you. Are they bringing any other phases in, or are we kind of?
So the upper phase is, there's still some discussion that the two, I would say the Rockloft developer and the Barker developer are still working out to make sure they can get their utilities and all that into that property. So there's still some work that they're involved with, getting that to move forward there.
So we're not seeing anything yet then?
Nothing quite yet on that one. So they're trying to finish up their discussions, so.
Thank you, Darren. Anything further?
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to action items. 8.1, approve or deny the change order for the glass for the City Hall project. Do I have a motion to approve or deny that request?
I move to approve change order for glass for the City Hall project.
I have a motion from Blake. I have a second. Second from Mark. Further discussion on this item, on this motion? From anyone?
I know personally, the processes and things for making glass a little more environmentally friendly, meaning, your heat elements and that kind of stuff has significantly changed since this building was built. And I would assume that we would benefit in our heating and cooling bills as well from a change in our glass. So.
And I think it makes sense, since we have the contractors here already, might as well just do it at the same time, so it all looks nice and we get the efficiencies. So to me, it makes common sense.
And it's the UV glass that, the newer UV glass that,
Okay, Gary, anything? Let's see. All in favor of that motion, say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Okay, that one passes unanimously. 8.2, approve or deny a change order for the ADA door openers for the rear entrance, basement entrance for the City Hall project. Do we have a motion to approve that one?
I move to approve the change order for the ADA door openers for the rear entrance for the City Hall project.
Thank you. I have a motion from David. A second?
Second.
Second from Mark. Any further discussion on this item?
I think we're kind of backed into a corner on that
Pretty
one.
much a must do.
yeah.
That's got to be there has to be an ADA entrance, so.
Yeah.
All in favor of this motion, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.3, approve February 3rd, 2026 City Council minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look through the minutes and make any edits?
You said February 6th.
Did I not say?
Or February 3rd on the agenda, so which one was it?
Was it not February 3rd?
That's February 3rd.
You said,
Did I say 6? I said 2026.
oh, my mistake.
I thought, maybe I'll say it again. Approve the February 3rd, 2026 City Council minutes. We all had a chance to make any edit suggestions for Haley. I think those have all been attended to by Haley, if you had.
I made a correction, or I corrected several of the names. I don't even know if we got them all right, but also I did make what I considered to be a correction on or an addition on Councilmember Cottrell's statements, because it wasn't part of the meeting, and I think it needs to be reflected in the minutes. So.
Can you speak to that a little bit more?
I didn't see that
substantively?
correction.
I didn't.
Is that later today?
When did you make that?
this evening, or, yeah, after 5 o'clock today. So I was reading through it.
Okay.
So if you would like to look at it, it's under the conclusion section. I think it, and I think it speaks to his apology that he issued today as well. It explains that. So, and thank you for the apology, Mark.
I move to approve the February 3rd, 2026 City Council minutes
As amended.
as amended.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Blake and a second from Eileen.
Yes.
There was a second.
From Eileen.
Okay, sorry, I just found it and was reading it. So I have a motion, a discussion on that motion. All in favor of that motion, please say yes.
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 All, any opposed, say no. Passes unanimously, so those minutes are adopted. There are, what's that? We're good? There are no tabled items, no past discussion items. Calendar items, February 24th will be a Planning Commission meeting. March 3rd will be our next City Council meeting.
We want to switch the 24th,
Yeah, so we're not
for
the caucus.
Because of the caucus on the 17th, we're going to move the council meeting to the last 24th.
Well, wait, because
Talking about
what's on here is
March.
February 24th. March 24th is not on here.
It doesn't go that far, so,
We're not quite there yet.
yeah, we can't.
So we want to make the council meeting the 24th of March instead of the 17th. Okay.
So shifting it 1 week. So does anyone have a problem with that date? We have a quorum here if we hold, switch from 17th to the 24th.
I think that's great. I'm glad that we're making time that we can allow people to attend the caucus.
I don't have a conflict. I plan to be here.
Good, good. Sounds like we should be good with attendance that day. So going back, the 24th, do we have, I'm not sure if we settled a date for Planning Commission in
And then-
March though, because that causes, yeah,
So change it to like, oh,
it causes a problem because you get into spring break the week after that.
right.
Okay, so February 24th, next week, Planning Commission, and March 3rd, City Council, and then March 24th, City Council, just to be clear, okay? And then, and March 17th, please go to your neighborhood caucus. That's it for tonight. I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Blake, second from Mark. All in favor, say yes.
Aye. Yes.
And opposed, say no. We are adjourned. Thank you. 8:28.
So
I guess we don't have to take a vote
this
on
bill
that. Yeah, I don't have to vote on
is
adjournment.
real doozy,
Just getting-
the way that it's written.